My pheromone compatibility with Eric is 85%, but he can't stand me. So when someone with a 95% match for him showed up, I knew it was my cue to leave. Years later, I was set up, drugged, and thrown into the new CEO's hotel room. I'd heard this CEO was ruthless and had no interest in beautiful Omegas. And yet, he pulled me into a fierce hug, his eyes bloodshot. Where do you think you're running off to now? It wasn't until I saw the lavish decor that I realized Kyle hadn't taken me to a lounge. This was someone's luxury suite. I was supposed to be at a business dinner tonight, but the big boss, the most important CEO, had to cancel at the last minute. Our partner mentioned that their Mr. Brooke had just returned from abroad and was staying at a hotel while his new place was being renovated. The moment I heard the name Brooke, my heart skipped a beat. I wanted to ask for his full name but was afraid it would sound weird. I figured I'd find a way to ask casually later. But before I got the chance, Kyle screwed me over. He drugged my drink. Kyle's a male Omega just like me, and we started at the company around the same time. I kept getting promoted while he stayed put. On top of that, an alpha colleague he had a crush on was into me. So yeah, Kyle hated my guts, constantly bad-mouthing me and giving me the evil eye. He was sitting next to me and accidentally knocked over my glass. After apologizing way too much, he got me a new drink. Halfway through dinner, I suddenly felt dizzy, my head pounding. I could barely control my pheromones. I went to the restroom to cool down and ran into Kyle again. He said I looked pale and offered to take me to a lounge to rest. This isn't a lounge, I managed to say, clinging to my last shred of sanity. Whose room is this? Kyle shoved me onto the floor, a triumphant smirk on his face. Mr. Brooks, I had a friend who works here copy the keycard. Sean, you're finished. You're gonna be so fired tomorrow. It took me a half-minute to process what was happening. This Mr. Brooke, from what I'd heard, had no time for attractive people and despised Omegas. Someone once tried to score a deal by sending an Omega to his room. He'd thrown the Omega, who was wearing nothing but lace lingerie, out into the hotel hallway and announced he would never invest in their company. Worse, he seemed to have a particular hatred for Omegas whose pheromones smelled like freesia. Apparently, a freesia-scented Omega had tricked him once, and Mr. Brooke had been hunting for him for years, with no luck. When people asked what he'd do when he found him, he'd just spit out two cold words. Kill him. And my pheromones, of course, smell exactly like freesia. If Mr. Brooke came back and found me, he'd definitely throw me out and have my boss fire me. My reputation would be ruined, and I'd have a hard time finding another job in this industry. Kyle's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and grinned. Looks like Mr. Brooke is on his way back. Well, I'll be going now. I tried to grab him, but I had no strength. The drug Kyle gave me had neutralized my suppressants, triggering a false heat. My pheromones flooded out, and the thick scent of freesia filled the entire room. The moment the door opened, only one thought crossed my mind. I'm screwed. I slowly looked toward the entrance. The room was dim, and all I could see was a tall silhouette. He seemed to choke on the overwhelming freesia scent before cursing. Damn it, not another one. I was barely conscious, but his voice sounded familiar. The next second, he slammed the door shut with a deafening bang. Through the door, I heard his ice-cold voice. Get the person in my room out of here, now. Find out who sent them and deal with it the usual way. Oh, and get me a new room. I saw them, bodyguards, I assumed. They must have been on suppressants because my pheromones didn't affect them. When they carried me into the bright hallway, I instinctively shut my eyes. I could hear someone apologizing profusely. I'm so sorry, Mr. Brooke, truly sorry. We'll get to the bottom of this immediately. That familiar tone, it sounded just like Eric. I forced myself to focus and open my eyes, looking toward the source of the voice. When I saw his face, all the blood rushed to my head, causing a sharp, throbbing pain. I quickly looked down, pretending to be unconscious, waiting for the bodyguards to haul me away. But then, Eric's voice cut through the air, trembling unexpectedly. Wait, someone walked over to me. After seeing my face, he violently snatched me from the bodyguard's shoulder and pulled me into his arms. I gasped, looking up at the man holding me so tightly. Eric's eyes were blood red. "Sean, is that you?" Everyone around us was stunned, utterly confused as to why the man Eric had ordered to be thrown out a second ago was now being carried back into the room by Eric himself. Eric placed me on the bed, his large hand pressing against my forehead. "Why are you so hot? Are you in heat?" His palm was cool, a welcome relief against my burning skin. I couldn't help but tilt my head up, seeking more contact, and gently rubbed my cheek against his hand. Eric seemed to freeze, his whole body stiffening. His reaction snapped me back to reality. Crap, Eric hates it when I touch him. Back in the day, whenever I accidentally brushed against him, he'd recoil like I was something disgusting. I really wasn't in my right mind to be nuzzling his hand like this. Terrified he'd throw me out, I quickly pulled back, away from his touch. But I'd barely moved an inch before Eric pulled me close again. He deliberately pressed his hand back to my cheek. "Still hot? Let me cool you down." My mind was a total fog. My rational side screamed at me to get away, but my body instinctively leaned into him and I nodded. The scent of sea salt and mint filled the room, and my temperature dropped a few degrees. Eric was releasing his pheromones. Our compatibility was 85%. So his scent had a powerful calming effect on me. Maybe the false heat made me bold. Feeling the cool silk of Eric's shirt, I pressed my whole body against him like an octopus. Maybe I was too heavy. Eric took a deep breath, his voice raspy. "Sean." I mumbled a hazy, "Don't move," Eric said, his voice low as he used his other hand to hold me still. "My suppressants, I think they're about to fail, too." Before I could process that, there was a knock at the door. At the sound, Eric seemed both relieved and reluctant as he got up to answer it. The second his human air conditioner body left, I instinctively grabbed him. "Shoo," Eric cooed, stroking my face. "I'll be right back." Eric, speaking to me so gently and helping me cool down? I must have a really high fever to be having hallucinations this vivid. He came back holding a few vials of suppressants. "This might hurt a little," he warned, then opened one and injected it into my arm. Then he quickly gave himself a shot. The burning heat began to subside, but my mind grew even fuzzier. My eyelids felt too heavy to keep open, but I felt a cool kiss on the gland on the back of my neck. Eric's breath was warm against my ear. When I woke up, I was alone. The room was filled with the rich scent of sea salt and mint. My head was spinning, and fragmented memories flashed through my mind, giving me a splitting headache. My phone said it was already 10 a.m. Thank God it was Saturday and I didn't have to work. Work, the project, Mr. Brooke? The thought of Eric made me snap to attention. Holy crap. So the Mr. Brooke they were all talking about was Eric. The same Eric who looked annoyed every time he saw me. But for some reason, he hadn't yelled at me last night. He hadn't thrown me in the hallway. He'd carried me back into the room. Then I remembered what a colleague had said before. Eric hated Frisia-scented Omegas. So that Omega was me. All these years, and he still hated me. I sighed, slowly getting out of bed, planning to pack up and make a run for it. Run. If you don't run now, you're toast. I quickly splashed some water on my face. Looking in the mirror, I noticed 2 small red dots on my neck. It's getting colder, but there are still mosquitoes out, I guess. I ignored them and rushed out the door. A man in a suit saw me and gave me a polite nod. "Good morning, Mr. Sean. I'm Mr. Brooks' secretary. You can call me Tim." Hi, I said awkwardly. "Good morning, Tim." And bye. I was about to bolt, but Tim took a gentle step forward, blocking my path. "Are you heading home?" Mr. Brooke had an urgent matter at the office, but he asked me to wait for you to wake up and drive you home. I immediately refused. No, that's okay. I can just get a cab." Tim just kept smiling, reminding me of a wolf in sheep's clothing. I really must insist. Otherwise, Mr. Brooke will dock my pay. Damn. Eric, you evil boss. He must really hold a grudge to go to these lengths just to make sure I couldn't escape before he could settle the score. Though, to be fair, I did trick him when I ran off all those years ago. Before he left for a competition training camp, he told me to wait for him to get back, that he had something to tell me. I agreed to his face, but in my head, I was thinking, like hell I'm waiting for you. It's not going to be anything good. You're just a jerk who loves to yell at me. Go be with your 95% pheromone match. So I went straight to his dad, had him help me transfer to a different school, and made sure he kept my new location a secret. And Eric was still holding a grudge over that little thing. A working man shouldn't make things hard for another working man. I had no choice but to let Tim drive me home. The second I walked in the door, I got a call from a colleague. It was Henry, a guy I was pretty close with at work. Sean, are you okay? I heard you had too much to drink last night. Yeah, I'm fine. That's good. Henry's tone shifted to gossip mode. Did you get to see the new CEO yesterday? I heard he's drop-dead gorgeous. I've only seen pictures and he's hot, but apparently he's even better looking in person. I played dumb. No, I didn't see him. That's such a shame. A lot of the Omegas at our company are dying to see him in person. They're all saying Eric Brook is their total dreamboat. But it's just a fantasy for them. I heard he's about to get engaged. My heart sank. What? To who? Some guy named Leo, I think? The Omega with the 95% pheromone match with Eric. On Monday morning, Kyle's desk was empty. I asked a colleague, who said they didn't know who Kyle had pissed off, but he'd been fired and had to clear out his stuff over the weekend. I was stunned. The general manager was in his office. I knocked and went in, hoping to talk him into letting me off the project. Now that the partner was Eric, there was no way I could stay on it. But the moment the manager saw me, he flashed a brilliant smile I'd never seen before. Sean, there you are. I was just about to come find you. His smile gave me the creeps. I forced myself to speak. Sir, I'd like to withdraw from this project, if that's okay. The manager's smile vanished instantly, and a huge bead of sweat dripped down his forehead. What's wrong, Sean? Is something bothering you? He hadn't even wanted me on this project initially. We weren't close, he preferred people who kissed up to him. I only got on the team because my mentor wanted me to join and learn. But now he was desperately trying to keep me. Sean, you can't leave. The whole project depends on you. I'll give you a bonus, how does that sound? Sean, we can't do this without you. I tried to refuse, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. Instead, I ended up with a new task, delivering a bunch of gifts to Eric's company, all in the name of building a good relationship with our partner. The direct contact at Eric's company was a guy named Lee. We all just called him Lee. When I got to the lobby of Eric's building, I figured I could just drop the stuff and leave quickly. I shouldn't run into Eric. I huddled in the lobby like a thief, sending Lee a quick text. Hey Lee, I'm just gonna leave this stuff at the front desk for you. Grab it when you have a sec, okay? To my surprise, Lee called me right back. Sean, you're here at the company? Yeah, I said. You want to come up for a bit? No thanks, I've got something else to do. Oh, okay. For some reason, Lee's voice sounded strained, like he was trying to make up an excuse on the spot. Could you wait for me downstairs for a minute? Then, there's something about work I need to discuss with you. I couldn't really say no, so I sat in the lobby and waited. As I was gawking around like a country bumpkin who'd never seen a fancy office building, the automatic doors slid open, and a guy walked in. He was wearing a delicate white shirt, and his hair was soft and smooth. He was so pretty he could have been a girl. Someone greeted him. Leo, you're here. Leo smiled back at them. My breathing quickened. I ducked behind a large potted plant next to the sofa, trying to hide. The elevator doors opened. I expected to see Lee, but instead, Eric strode out. He seemed to be looking for someone, his gaze scanning the lobby. His path was blocked by Leo. Eric ignored him and kept looking around. When his eyes swept over my hiding spot, he paused. I quickly looked away and shrank back even further, silently chanting a mantra. He can't see me, he can't see me, he can't see me. Turns out mantras are useless. Footsteps approached, and a pair of leather shoes appeared in front of me. Sean? A notification popped up on my phone. Lee. Something came up. I can't make it. Our CEO is coming down to meet you. I was screwed. Reluctantly, I lifted my head. Leo had hurried over after Eric. The moment he saw me, his face fell. Say, Sean? He stammered, forcing a smile. Is that you? What are you doing here? I didn't really know Leo, But out of politeness, I answered, I'm just dropping something off. I was about to leave. I didn't care about the gifts anymore. I stood up to run, but Eric grabbed my wrist, his grip tight. He held on, his eyes fixed on me. His gaze drifted to my neck, and when he saw the two faint red marks, a flicker of satisfaction crossed his face. He raised his other hand and gently brushed his thumb over one of the marks. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I violently yanked my hand away. You. I clutched my neck, trembling, and fled that hell's cape like my life depended on it. I was so screwed. Ever since I realized Eric was acting weird, I'd been on edge every single day. Thankfully, I managed to avoid him all the way until Friday. On my way home Friday evening, I saw the door to the apartment across from mine was open. Movers were carrying boxes in and out. The tenant across the hall had moved out 6 months ago, and the place had been empty ever since. This week, it looked like someone had finally rented it, as workers had been moving things in bit by bit. I was peeking curiously when a familiar figure appeared at the doorway. Yes, that rug goes in the bedroom. Be careful with it, it's worth 30 grand. After instructing the movers, Tim saw me, bowed slightly, and greeted me. Good evening, Tim? My jaw dropped. What a coincidence. Did you rent this apartment? Not rented. Bought, Tim said with a small smile. And not by me, by Mr. Brooke. This building was actually kind of old, and the apartments weren't that big. But it was in a great location, so the rent wasn't cheap. I had gritted my teeth and rented it anyway just so I could sleep in for a few extra minutes every morning. And Eric owned a 3-story villa in the most expensive part of the city, with a swimming pool bigger than my entire apartment. And now he was moving in here. This is insane. Everyone's insane. Well, a little insanity can be good. I dazedly went back to my apartment and shut the door. When I heard a knock, I dazedly opened it again. Eric's handsome face appeared before me. Slam! I shut the door in his face. What the hell? Is he here to settle the score already? I've gone too far. I've really gone too far. I just slammed the door on Eric Brooke. Sean, you've really done it now. You can start planning your funeral. Around 11 p.m., there was another knock on the door. I trembled as I looked through the peephole and saw Tim. The moment I opened the door, I caught the faint scent of sea salt and mint. Sean, Mr. Brooks' pheromone disorder is acting up again, Tim said, his face etched with worry. He's about to take his medication. Please try to stop him. The side effects are terrible. I froze. His condition, it's still not better? Eric's pheromonal dysregulation syndrome caused rashes of painful red welts that felt like being stabbed with needles. There were 2 treatments. One was medication, but it had severe side effects and long-term use could lead to resistance, making the condition worse. The other was exposure to pheromones from someone with an 85% or higher compatibility match. It was much more effective, but finding such a high match was incredibly rare. The only reason I'd ever gotten involved with Eric was because my compatibility with him just happened to be 85%. I thought I was his fated person until Leo showed up. Their compatibility was 95%. He was Eric's true fated person. Logically, with Leo's highly compatible pheromones, Eric should have been cured years ago. But from what Tim was saying, it sounded like Eric had only gotten worse. I can't, I said, biting my lip. Did you try calling Leo? Tim looked baffled. Why would I call Leo? Huh? I was at a loss for words. Aren't they getting engaged? Who said I'm getting engaged to Leo? Eric emerged from his apartment. The top 2 buttons of his shirt were undone, revealing a large patch of red on his chest. It looked serious. He frowned, as if suppressing great pain, but his gaze on me was intense. He and I have nothing to do with each other. While we waited for the private doctor to arrive, Eric leaned on me the whole time. One of his arms was loosely wrapped around my waist. The other held my hand. Every time I tried to sneak my hand back, he'd let out a pained hiss, looking so miserable that I'd give up trying to pull away. Pheromone therapy didn't actually require physical contact, but Eric's eyes were squeezed shut, and he seemed to be in genuine pain, which must be why he was holding my hand. He only ever got close to me when he wasn't fully conscious. Tim had already left. It was just me and Eric in the room. When the private doctor finally arrived, I breathed a sigh of relief and went to open the door. But Eric wouldn't let go, looking at me pitifully. I had no choice but to half support him as I went to the door. Before I could finish, he saw Eric with his head resting on my neck. His eyes widened in shock. A what the hell did I just walk into expression on his face. Holy crap, who the hell are you? Eric barely lifted his eyelids. Your dad. The doctor's eyes were as wide as saucers. He looked back and forth between us, and then it seemed to click. Sean? You're Sean. Holy crap. I finally get to see you in the flesh. Look at that pretty face. You really are a looker. No wonder our Eric here has been pining for you day and night. Unable to sleep, I couldn't take it anymore and cut off his nonsense. Doctor, can you please check on him? Oh, right. The doctor quickly helped me, and after a lot of effort, they finally managed to peel Eric off me and get him into the bedroom. He said he needed to do an examination and told me to wait in the living room. A moment later, I could hear the doctor's intermittent shouts from the bedroom. All his levels are normal. You're a pretty good actor. You scratched those red marks on yourself, didn't you? I knew it. It's been way worse before and I've never seen you this week. You want me to fake the report? No way. I have medical ethics. $5 grand? Okay, deal. So how bad do you want it to be? How about a diagnosis that requires kisses to get better? You think that'll work? I couldn't hear very well. Just as I was about to creep closer, the door opened. The beta doctor walked out, beaming. Sean, I'm leaving Eric in your hands. Whatever you do, don't let him take that medicine. The side effects are awful. That's how his stomach got so messed up. He even ended up in the hospital last time. I mean, can you believe this guy? He's got an Omega with a 95% match, but he pushes him away, refuses the pheromones and insists on taking the meds instead. With every word he said, my heart clenched a little tighter. After the doctor left, I went into the bedroom. Eric was lying down with his eyes closed. A few more buttons on his shirt were undone, revealing the faint lines of his abs. His skin flushed red. I tried to talk myself down. Sean, don't be seduced by his good looks. Have you forgotten how cold he used to be? This is your chance. Run. As if sensing my thoughts, Eric's eyes fluttered open, and he reached for my hand. Eric's gaze darkened. His hand hovered in midair for a moment before he slowly pulled it back. Silence filled the room. After a long moment, I heard him apologize. I'm sorry. I froze. He almost never said he was sorry. In the past, whenever I got angry, I'd just have to comfort myself. It's okay. But now, I didn't want to say it was okay. So I said, Eric, you should move back home. We shouldn't see each other anymore. During the second semester of my junior year, Eric's father approached me. He told me that my pheromones had an 85% compatibility match with Eric's and asked me to move into their house to be available to help treat Eric's pheromonal disorder. The condition was that he would cover my grandmother's medical bills. My parents were divorced, and my mom was raising me on her own. My grandma's medical expenses were a huge burden. I didn't want my mom to struggle so much, so I agreed. Before I moved in, Eric's dad gave me a warning. Eric had a bit of a temper, so I should try my best not to provoke him. I thought I was prepared, but it turned out Eric hated me even more than I had imagined. At the time, he and his father had a terrible relationship. He thought I was a spy sent by his dad to monitor his every move, so he was extremely hostile to my presence. That's why he rejected my pheromones, preferring to take the medication with all its side effects. The first time I saw him have an attack, he snapped at me with extreme coldness. You are not to release your pheromones. Then he grabbed a bottle of pills, shook a few out, and was about to swallow them. I don't know where I got the courage, but I lunged forward, snatched the pills from his hand, stuffed the bottle in my pocket, and ran as fast as I could to the kitchen. What are you doing? Eric froze for a few seconds, shocked. When he realized what had happened, he strode towards me, looking like he was about to punch me. In a panic, I scrambled under the dining table. Eric's expression went blank for a second. Get out. No, If I come out, you'll definitely hit me. I clutched the pill bottle. You can't take this medicine. It's bad for you. He took a deep breath. Get out. I won't hit you. Catching a whiff of freesia, Eric gritted his teeth. Stop that. I stayed under the table, trembling, but continued to release my pheromones. I only stopped when I saw the extensive rash on his hands start to fade. But Eric didn't leave. He just stood by the table, silent. He didn't move, so I didn't dare to move. After a while, I started to get nervous and wanted to peek out to see what was going on. But I had been crouching for too long, my legs were numb. I lost my balance and my head slammed right into the table. The pain brought tears to my eyes. I whimpered as I crawled out from under the table. Eric's face, which had been grim, suddenly broke into a laugh when he saw my tear-streaked expression. He was incredibly handsome. The 17-year-old boy was tall and striking, and his normally cold, serious face was breathtaking when he smiled. For a moment, I couldn't look away, and my heart started beating wildly. I didn't know it then, but that was what liking someone felt like. After the 5th time I hid under the table, Eric finally gave in and agreed to stop taking the medicine. Even though Eric was willing to accept my pheromones, he still couldn't stand me. I transferred to his high school, but he forbade me from talking to him on campus. We had to pretend to be strangers. At home, he barely acknowledged me. The only thing he ever called me was idiot. If I bit my tongue while eating, he'd call me an idiot. If I couldn't figure out my homework, he'd call me an idiot. I tried to protest. You can't keep calling me an idiot. What if I actually become one? Eric just sneered. Idiot. Luckily, I made friends quickly and even got a love letter from a pretty cute alpha. It was the first love letter I had ever received in my life. I wanted to show it off to the whole world. Look, I held the letter up high. This is the first love letter I've ever gotten. Eric faltered for a second. Then his cold expression returned. Who has such bad taste? I huffed and put the letter away, ignoring him and telling myself not to get mad. But I didn't get to keep the letter for long. While it was on my desk, Eric accidentally knocked a can of Coke over, soaking it and turning it into a brown, mushy mess. And the culprit, Eric, was completely unapologetic. It was fate. It means you and that guy aren't meant to be. Go reject him. I was furious, but there was nothing I could do. I told myself that as soon as Eric's pheromone disorder was cured, I would leave and never have to put up with this spoiled brat again. But I never expected that my departure would come even sooner than I thought. In our senior year, a new Omega transferred to our school. His name was Leo. Unlike me, he was the son of a wealthy family, elegant, beautiful, and refined. As soon as he arrived, alphas were lining up to pursue him. Most importantly, his pheromone compatibility with Eric was 95%, much higher than mine. Leo was placed in Eric's class. From then on, Eric's group of friends included Leo. And among Leo's admirers was an Omega who always looked at him with a soft smile. As for me, I was never part of his world, from beginning to end. When Eric's dad wanted to talk to me, I wasn't surprised. What was surprising was that I thought he was going to ask me to leave, but he didn't. Eric said he doesn't want you to go, he said, taking a drag from his cigarette. He was very firm about it. I don't want to fight with him, so I'll respect his choice. But you know I still prefer Leo. In every aspect, he's the better choice. He stubbed out his cigarette. Whenever you want to leave, just come to me. After our talk, I left the study and saw Eric standing by the door. The moment I came out, Eric walked up, pinched my cheeks, and tapped my head twice. Idiot, don't listen to him. You just stay put. Got it? Don't even think about running off. Maybe he just couldn't find a more gullible sidekick than me, which is why he wanted me to stay. Even so, I was still really happy. The weather grew colder, and soon it was almost Christmas. I was ecstatic because my birthday was on Christmas Day. When I'm happy, I just want to talk to Eric. Eric, do you know what's special about the 25th of this month? Eric was looking at his phone, not even glancing at me. Christmas. Hee and? He remained expressionless. The school gala. Oh right, the school was having a Christmas gala. Eric and Leo were in the same performance and had been rehearsing together a lot lately. No, I said, giving him a mysterious hint. It's actually someone's birthday. Eric finally looked up. He stared at me for 2 seconds, and then, under my hopeful gaze, he uttered one word, Jesus. Jesus, my foot. Even though Eric didn't know it was my birthday, I generously forgave him. It's okay. I'll just buy myself a birthday cake and give him a slice. I ordered a strawberry cake. I'd been eyeing it for a while, stopping by the bakery window for 2 minutes every day after school, drooling over the cake covered in strawberries. And every day, Eric would walk by, grab me, and drag me away with a disgusted look on his face. Before Eric's performance, I snuck backstage and saw him and Leo standing face to face. Eric's back was to me, but I could see Leo's face and the love shining in his eyes. Suddenly, as if sensing me, Leo's gaze shifted and met mine. But after just a few seconds, he looked away as if nothing had happened. The next moment, Leo took a step closer to Eric, leaving only inches between them. He reached out and, with a familiar, natural gesture, straightened Eric's tie. The move was intimate. I spun around, forcing myself not to watch. A sour feeling churned up from my heart. I felt so awful, I don't even know how I made it back to my seat. I only snapped out of it when Eric's performance began. It was an instrumental ensemble. Eric was on the piano, Leo on the violin. Gossip buzzed around me. Oh my God, Eric is so hot. Eric and Leo look so perfect together. I heard their pheromones are a 95% match. They're literally a fated pair. I couldn't listen anymore. I got up and left the auditorium. It was a cold winter, but my heart was even colder. It wasn't until I picked up my cake that I started to feel a little better. But the happiness didn't last long. As if fate was against me, I tripped on a rock and fell hard. The strawberry cake I had been dreaming of for a month was smashed to pieces. I was completely stunned, just staring at the ruined cake, at a total loss. Maybe Eric was right. I really was an idiot. That's why I lost my cake and could never have him. As I sat on the ground in a daze, someone helped me up. Oh my God, Sean, are you okay? I looked up and saw Liam, the alpha who had written me the love letter. I'm fine. Liam helped me to a bench, used his phone's flashlight to check for injuries, and only relaxed when he was sure I wasn't hurt. Let me walk you home, he said. No, it's okay, but thank you, I refused. I slowly got up to leave, but just as I did, a delivery guy on an electric scooter came speeding toward me. Luckily, Liam pulled me back just in time or I would have been hit. You're really not in a good state. I should walk you home just to be safe. He had a point, so I agreed. Following the safety-first principle, we walked very slowly. By the time we got back to Eric's house, it was very late. Where have you been? Eric's voice was sharp. Who was that guy who walked you home? He must have seen Liam from the balcony. But I was exhausted and didn't want to talk to him. I tried to walk past him to my bedroom. As I passed, Eric grabbed my arm. Don't go, you. He trailed off, then leaned in closer, sniffing me. His voice was piercingly cold. You smell like another alpha's pheromones. What did you two do? Talk. His grip tightened, forcing me to answer, until something hot dripped onto the back of his hand. I didn't want to be a crybaby. It's so embarrassing. So not cool. But I couldn't stop the tears. Eric suddenly panicked. Seeing my tears fall, he became completely flustered. Sean? Don't cry. He hurriedly tried to wipe my tears away with his hand, but I slapped it away. I pushed him away and ran to my room. I cried myself to sleep. The next morning, I saw the text he had sent me last night. Happy birthday. I'm sorry. He was leaving for his training camp today. I listened from my room for a while, and when I didn't hear anything, I assumed he was gone and opened the door. But Eric was still sitting on the living room sofa like a statue. His phone screen kept lighting up with an incoming call, but he didn't answer. When he saw me, Eric shot up, rushed over, and said with a sincerity I'd never heard from him before, I'm leaving for the training camp. Wait for me to come back. I have something to tell you. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept all night. I didn't say anything and he wouldn't leave. After a standoff, I finally nodded. Only then did Eric drag his suitcase and leave. Before he left, he repeated, as if he needed reassurance, "You have to wait for me." But this one had writing in chocolate syrup. "Happy birthday, idiot." I stared at the cake for a long time, and then I made a decision. I took out my phone, blocked Eric's number, and then called his father to ask him to help me transfer schools and to keep my whereabouts a secret. From that day on, Eric and I never spoke again. After that night, Eric didn't move out, but I barely ran into him. However, every day when I came home, I would find an exquisite cake box at my door. It was from a famous dessert brand where a tiny slice of cake cost $100. I opened the box. Inside was a slice of mille crepe cake, topped with a plump, juicy strawberry that smelled heavenly. I couldn't help but swallow hard, but then I forced myself to put the cake back in front of his door. The next day, however, I found the cake sitting right where I'd left it, untouched. After a night out, it had started to go bad. Feeling it was a waste, I called Tim and asked him to tell Eric to stop sending them. Tim said he would, but the next day, there was another cake at my door. I told Mr. Brooke, but it was no use, Tim said calmly. "Perhaps you could tell him yourself, Sean? I'm sure he would listen to you." I was about to lose my mind. I had just told Eric that we shouldn't have any contact. Fine, I'll eat them. It's not my money he's wasting, after all. After 2 weeks of this, I couldn't take it anymore. Even though it wasn't my money, it still pained me to see it spent like this. I texted Eric, "Stop sending them." He replied almost instantly. "Was it not good? Should I switch bakeries?" Me, "No, not from any bakery." Eric, "You don't like strawberry cake anymore? How about a different flavor?" Communication failed. I gave up. When I got out of the elevator, I saw someone sitting at my door. The word "help" was on the tip of my tongue, but then the motion sensor light flickered on and I saw his face. Eric smelled of alcohol. He was probably a little drunk. He just looked at me, not saying anything for a moment. After a while, he held up the cake box in his hand and gave it a little shake. "Your favorite strawberry cake. Fresh from the oven. Want some?" "No," I said, hardening my heart. "Eric, I don't like strawberry cake anymore." Eric stared at me, his eyes full of hurt. Took him a long time to say, "Oh." Then he added, "What about me? You don't like me anymore either?" I didn't answer. Eric's brow furrowed, and he sucked in a sharp breath, clutching his stomach. I immediately got worried. "What's wrong?" "My stomach hurts a little," Eric said, his face pale. "It's already sensitive, and I had to drink a lot at a business dinner tonight." I remembered what the doctor said about how Eric had been on medication for years and the side effects had ruined his stomach. "Eric, you have to stop taking that medicine," I told him. "Leo's pheromones would work so much better. Why are you still taking the pills?" Eric looked at me with a helpless expression. "Sean, I think you've misunderstood something. I don't like Leo. I don't want his pheromones." He looked at me, his eyes deep and intense. "I don't want anyone but you. Sometimes I feel like my doorstep is a magical treasure chest. I can find cakes of all flavors, and every now and then, I can even find a 6-foot-tall movie star handsome drunk. Now, whenever Eric gets drunk, he comes and sits at my door, playing pitiful, trying to secretly hold my hand, and then pretending nothing happened when I catch him. I was furious but helpless. "You're just taking advantage of my soft heart. You know I'm too nice. You think I really don't have the guts to kick you out." Eric pushed his luck. "Well, could you be a little softer, a little kinder, and give me a chance to win you back?" I slammed the door in his face, leaving him outside. That was a close one. I almost caved again. Suddenly, it occurred to me that if Eric had been relying on medication all these years, his pheromone disorder must be getting worse, and the flare-ups more frequent. After much deliberation, I asked him for the private doctor's number and called to ask about Eric's condition. "Oh, Sean, what's up?" the doctor said cheerfully. "Eric's last attack? I think it was about a week ago. This month? He's had 2 or 3 attacks this month." I prescribed the medicine for all of them. My grip on the phone tightened. "So for the past few years, he's just been taking medicine?" "Yeah, it's been really tough for him. You know Leo, right? He once tried to force his pheromones on Eric, and that's a 95% match we're talking about. And what happened? Eric threw him out. Such a cute little Omega, and he didn't show an ounce of compassion. TSK? TSK. He must have noticed my silence because he tried to comfort me. It's okay. He deserves it. That Eric. He's just stubborn and deserves a good beating sometimes. It's good for him to suffer a little, otherwise he'll never change. Sean, you can't forgive him too easily. You've got to knock him down a peg. You have no idea how much he tormented me in college. The next time Eric was sitting at my door, I walked right up to him and pulled a small bottle of pills out of his jacket pocket. I had a serious expression on my face, but Eric just let out a soft chuckle. I felt like my authority was being challenged. What's so funny? It just reminds me of the first time you stole my medicine, Eric said, his smile widening. You hid under the table and even hit your head. Okay, I cut him off. Stop talking. Eric agreed immediately. Okay, whatever you say, I'll stop. He wasn't as sarcastic as he used to be, which oddly made me feel a bit awkward. It's weird hearing you talk so normally. I'm not used to it. His expression fell for a moment, as if lost in thought. Then he looked up, his eyes serious. I was awful back then. I was wrong. Can you forgive me? I asked you to wait for me, and you said you would. But when I came back, you were gone. I didn't know what to do. For the first time, I felt this emptiness inside, like a part of me had been hollowed out. That's when I knew. I love you, Sean. I still do. I love you so much. Christmas was just around the corner again. My colleagues said they wanted to take me out for my birthday, so I had to turn down Eric's invitation. He looked really disappointed but still said, okay, have fun. Eric was still relentlessly leaving things at my door and engineering accidental meetings. He said he didn't want to use his pheromones to pressure me, but with a few tip-offs from Tim, I managed to catch him taking his medicine twice and used my own pheromones to help him. Even though I hadn't agreed to be with him yet, I knew I didn't want to see him suffer. I wanted him to be healthy. While I was out at dinner, I ran into Leo. Unexpectedly, he said to me, "Happy birthday." I was a little surprised. "How did you know it was my birthday?" Leo gave a bitter smile. On Christmas Day, our senior year, after the performance, everyone wanted to go out for a late-night snack to celebrate. Eric refused. He said some idiot's birthday was that day and he had to hurry back. I was curious, so I followed him. I saw him pick up a cake from the bakery, with a tenderness on his face that I'd never seen before. Later, I looked it up, and sure enough, that day was your birthday. Leo sighed. I liked him for so long. I thought I could win him over, but I couldn't. Happy birthday. I wish you both happiness. I watched him walk away, a mix of emotions churning inside me. The restaurant was lively, with classic Christmas music playing and people laughing. But all I could picture was Eric, sitting all alone at my door. After dinner and blowing out my candles, I rushed home. A familiar figure was at my door. He seemed surprised to see me back so early. Next to him was a large cake box. Through the clear plastic, I could see the strawberry cake. I never got to celebrate with you before. I wanted to make up for it this year. I sniffled, my eyes stinging. "Humph," I said. "You're too late." Eric's breath caught in his throat. I continued, "But since I'm feeling generous, I guess I can forgive you this one time." It was like Eric came back to life. His hands trembled slightly. "Really?" It was a question, but he didn't give me a chance to answer. He pulled me into a fierce hug. "Babe, you said it. You can't take it back." I saw the chocolate writing on the cake. This time it said, "Happy birthday, babe." I remembered the previous message and punched him lightly. "You're the idiot. Your whole family are idiots." "Yeah, I'm an idiot." Eric kissed the gland on my neck. "What I wanted to say when I asked you to wait for me, do you still want to hear it?" "Well, since you asked so nicely, I suppose I can grace you with my attention." Eric laughed and kissed my cheek again. "It's nothing new, really. I've already told you. It's just, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and I love you. Will you stay with me forever?" The question from years ago, traveling across several Christmases, was back before me again. I guess I had to say yes. I'm just too nice. So I said, "All right, fine." 3 months into my relationship with Eric, his heat arrived. A few days prior, he started intermittently releasing his sea salt and mint pheromones, looking at me with wide, innocent eyes. I think my heat is coming. I nervously consulted his private doctor, hoping for some professional advice. The doctor was incredibly dramatic. "Oh my God, Sean, you have to be prepared. This thing won't be over for at least 7 days and 7 nights. His words terrified me. What? Really? It's the gospel truth. Eric is a top-tier alpha. How is your little body going to handle that? The doctor's warning left me trembling. For the next few days, I ate a ton, preparing for Eric's heat with the grim determination of a soldier heading into battle. On the day Eric's heat officially began, I was wolfing down my second strawberry cake. When Eric came out of the bedroom, I still had cream on the corner of my mouth. His eyes were crimson. He stared at me, his throat working as he swallowed. I sensed a hint of danger and asked cautiously, are you hungry? Do you want some strawberry cake? Eric walked over, kissed the corner of my mouth, then dipped his finger in some cream and smeared it across my collarbone. His voice was husky as he said, "Yes,